Have you ever wondered what it feels like when children vanish without a trace in the middle of the night? On Christmas Eve, December 24, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia, a tragedy unfolded that would baffle investigators and haunt a family for decades. The Sodder family, led by George and Jenny Sodder, was preparing for a quiet Christmas. George, a Sicilian immigrant, had built a sturdy home for his 10 children, ensuring warmth and security. The house was alive with laughter, the smell of holiday meals, and the anticipation of gifts under the tree. That night, however, the ordinary became extraordinary. The peaceful became terrifying. At around 11:30 p.m., a fire broke out in the Sodder home. The flames spread rapidly, yet oddly, parts of the house remained largely intact, leaving neighbors puzzled. George tried desperately to save his children, running from room to room, breaking through smoke and fire, shouting their names: Morris, Martha, Louie, Jenny, Betty, Sylvia, Alfred, Sammy, and the youngest twins, Francis and Louis Jr. In the chaos, 5 children, Morris, Martha, Louie, Jenny, and Betty, seemed to vanish. Neighbors later reported hearing mysterious explosions in the night. Beyond the crackling of fire, which only deepened the mystery, the family called the fire department, but help arrived too late. The house was damaged, but not enough to account for the complete disappearance of half the children. Firemen found evidence that suggested the blaze had been unusual, and George became convinced almost immediately that this was no accident. Despite searching the charred remnants and surrounding woods, not a single trace of the 5 missing children was found. Newspapers reported on the incident, but theories varied wildly from accidental death in the fire to abduction. As the smoke cleared and dawn approached, the Sodders faced an unbearable reality. 5 of their children had vanished without a trace. George and Jenny were devastated, but a strange feeling told them this was not simply a fire accident. Odd clues began to surface. George noticed that many of the family's possessions remained untouched by the flames, including furniture and personal belongings in the rooms where the missing children had slept. The lack of debris in those areas suggested that something or someone had removed the children before the house was fully consumed. In the weeks following the fire, neighbors reported unusual sightings near the Sodder property. People claimed to see shadowy figures moving through the woods, and some even described strange vehicles parked along the narrow roads leading to the house on the night of the fire. Telephone calls came at odd hours, with a voice whispering incomprehensible messages and then hanging up. The Sodders tried to report these occurrences to authorities, but the police were skeptical and suggested grief might be distorting their perception. Despite skepticism, George became increasingly convinced that the children had been abducted. He spent years investigating possible motives and suspects. Some theorists believed it could have been an organized crime operation, given the timing and mysterious explosions, while others suspected a personal vendetta, possibly linked to distant relatives or business disputes in the extended family. Jenny, meanwhile, tirelessly maintained hope, preserving photographs of her children and keeping their rooms untouched, as if expecting them to return any day. George even placed newspaper advertisements seeking information about the missing children. One ad read, "Children missing in fire. If seen, please contact us," Purewood offered. Over time, he received numerous letters, some claiming sightings of the children in far-off states, but none provided concrete proof. Still, the family never gave up hope, believing that one day the truth would emerge and their children would return to them. Over the years, strange leads and mysterious sightings kept the Sodders' hope alive. One report claimed a man resembling Morris had been seen working at a carnival in Kentucky, while another hinted that Martha had been spotted in New Orleans under a different name. Some witnesses described children with unusual accents, possibly reflecting their Sicilian heritage, but no confirmations were ever made. Every lead was pursued with relentless determination, yet each trail seemed to vanish, like smoke in the wind. The family also uncovered peculiar anomalies surrounding the night of the fire. Neighbors reported hearing what sounded like gunshots or explosions, separate from the blaze, at unusual intervals during the evening. Some theorists speculated that the fire had been deliberately set as a cover-up, and the explosions were part of a coordinated plan to abduct the children. Even the local fire inspector noted the fire's strange patterns and the lack of complete destruction, suggesting that this incident was far from ordinary. George Sodder's obsession with finding his children grew over decades. He meticulously documented each clue, every possible lead, and every mysterious phone call. The family received postcards and letters claiming knowledge of the children's whereabouts. One postmarked years after the fire depicted a man resembling Louis Sodder standing beside a woman in a photograph taken in a distant city. Though tantalizing, none of these clues led to a reunion. As media attention increased, the story of the missing Sodder children captured the imagination of people across the United States. Books and articles recounted the unexplained events, and documentaries analyzed the fire, the family's investigations, and the potential abduction theories. Even today, the case remains one of the most baffling disappearances in American history, leaving historians, investigators, and ordinary people alike questioning what truly happened on that fateful Christmas Eve in 1945.
Even decades later, the disappearance of the Sodder children continues to puzzle experts and amateur sleuths alike. Some believe the children survived and were raised under new identities, while others think the abduction was part of a sinister plot connected to enemies of George Sodder's family. Over time, tips and sightings surfaced sporadically, but the trail always went cold. The family's hope never wavered. Jenny, in particular, kept their memory alive with unwavering dedication, preserving toys, photographs, and personal belongings in anticipation of a reunion that never came. Investigators and writers examining the case often point to strange coincidences and possible criminal involvement. The explosions reported on the night of the fire remain unexplained, as does the absence of any remains. Some even speculate involvement of organized crime or local feuds that might have motivated someone to kidnap the children. Yet, despite thorough investigations by law enforcement, historians, and journalists, no definitive answers have ever been uncovered. The Sodder case has inspired books, documentaries, and countless articles, serving as a haunting reminder of how real-life mysteries can evade explanation for generations. It raises difficult questions. How could 5 children disappear without leaving a trace in an otherwise partially intact house? Were the sightings genuine or products of grief and hope? Each question fuels speculation, keeping the story alive in the American consciousness. As the years turned into decades, George and Jenny Sodder never gave up searching. Even in their advanced years, they remained committed to uncovering the truth, pursuing tips, and keeping the case in public memory. Today, the story of the Sodder children continues to be studied by those fascinated by unsolved mysteries, reminding us that even in the modern world, some truths remain just out of reach, hidden in the shadows of history. The Sodder children's story is more than a family tragedy. It is a testament to the endurance of hope amid uncertainty. Researchers continue to examine old letters, photographs, and newspaper clippings, searching for clues that might finally solve the case. Despite modern technology and investigative techniques, the mystery remains as confounding today as it was in 1945. Every unexplained sighting, every strange phone call, adds layers to the legend of the Sodder disappearance, keeping it alive in the minds of those who follow real-life mysteries. Families, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts alike are drawn to the story, fascinated by the combination of fire, abduction, and enduring hope. The Sodders' relentless pursuit of answers reflects both human resilience and the painful reality of unanswered questions. Scholars often cite the case as a classic example of mid-20th century unexplained disappearances, highlighting how ordinary families can be thrust into extraordinary circumstances without warning. Adding to the intrigue, some theorists have suggested that the children may have been taken for reasons connected to wartime tensions or personal vendettas against George Sodder's extended family. Though speculative, such theories underline the complicated social context of West Virginia in the mid-1940s, including post-war anxiety and local rivalries. Each element, from mysterious explosions to unexplained sightings, contributes to a puzzle that remains unsolved even today. The Sodder disappearance continues to captivate American audiences through podcasts, documentaries, and television shows dedicated to unsolved mysteries. People from all walks of life are drawn to the chilling idea that 5 children could vanish without a trace in a country that prides itself on law, order, and community vigilance. The story challenges assumptions about safety, normalcy, and the thin line between hope and despair.
Even now, decades after that fateful Christmas Eve, the mystery of the Sodder children continues to haunt Fayetteville, West Virginia, and the wider United States. The charred home has long been replaced, but the story remains vivid in American folklore. Experts continue to debate whether the disappearance was an elaborate abduction, a tragic accident, or a combination of both. Despite years of investigation, no remains have ever been discovered, no abductor ever identified, and no definitive explanation provided. The Sodder family's unwavering hope stands as a testament to parental love. George and Jenny's relentless search, including placing newspaper ads for decades and following every lead, even those that cliffs nowhere, reflects the enduring human desire for closure and justice. Over time, the story has entered popular culture, inspiring books, documentaries, and television features, keeping the memory of the missing children alive for generations of Americans. As modern investigators revisit old evidence and new technology offers possibilities for analysis, the Sodder case continues to attract attention. The mystery poses fundamental questions. How could 5 children vanish from a partially intact house during a fire? Could they have survived, or were they taken by someone with motives yet unknown? Each unanswered question only deepens the intrigue, ensuring that the Sodder disappearance remains one of the most baffling unsolved cases in U.S. history. Ultimately, the story is a blend of tragedy, mystery, and enduring hope. It reminds us that even in a world filled with facts and evidence, some stories remain shrouded in uncertainty. The Sodder children, their faces frozen in photographs and their story etched into history, continue to captivate anyone who contemplates the unexplained. The haunting tale of that Christmas Eve in 1945 will remain an indelible part of America's unsolved mysteries, inspiring both caution and curiosity for generations to come.